Ibn Abi Shaybah relates, in which the Prophet ﷺ said, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ مَكَّةَ بُعِجَتْ كَظَائِمًا. When you see Mecca, when you see holes drilled into the mountains of Mecca, إِذَا رَأَيْتَ مَكَّةَ بُعِجَتْ كَظَائِمًا. The Arabs say, بُعِجَتْ الْأَرْضُ آبَارًا, that holes were dug into the earth. The Prophet ﷺ predicted that holes would be drilled through the mountains of Mecca, and he says, وَيَعْلُو بِنَاؤُهَا رُؤُوسَ الْجِبَالِ فَقَدْ أَضَلَّتَ السَّاعَةُ. And you see the buildings of Mecca reaching the level of mountains. You see the buildings of Mecca reaching the levels of mountains. He said, know that the shade of the hour has encompassed the planet. And the believers, when they see these things, it concerns them. The Prophet said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تزول الجبال عن أماكنها. The end of time won't come until you see mountains removed from their places. When I was in Mecca, there's mountains have been removed from Mecca. Quwa'iquan, one of the mountains that's known as the Ahad al-Akhshabain. When the angels came to the Prophet ﷺ and they asked him if he wanted to see the mountains, that they would يطبقهما على قريش. One of them was Abi Qubays and the other was Quwa'iquan. Quwa'iquan has been removed. It's gone. It's no longer there. The mountain is gone. A mountain that the Prophet ﷺ walked in its shade. A mountain that the Prophet ﷺ probably climbed as a boy. This mountain is now removed. Then the Prophet ﷺ said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى تزول الجبال عن أماكنها. These are signs for people to reflect. The Prophet ﷺ, I was on the Arabian Peninsula with my family, walking on the beach, and I came upon people in a public beach having sexual intercourse in a public beach on the Arabian Peninsula. I'm not making this up. This is the level of fasad that is happening on our planet. The Prophet ﷺ said, لا تقوم الساعة حتى يتهارج الناس تهارج الحمير. That the end of time won't come until people are like animals openly. He said, sallallahu alayhi wasallam, that one of the signs of the end of time is civilized people would walk with their thighs exposed in the marketplaces. بادية الأفخاذ في الأسواق. People, pens, he said, would be everywhere. He said that people, out of their love of the world, you would get two-income families. That people would be two-income families. That he said a woman will out حرصا على الدنيا تعين زوجها على التجارة. Out of love for this world, she'll work like her husband to earn livelihood, neglecting the children. Some people are forced to do that. And there's no blame on that. But there's people that just out of love of dunya, they will abandon their children and go out. These are the things that are happening around us. And these are things people have to wake up, because this is a religion that calls people to wake up. I was on a plane, and don't anybody laugh about this story, because you have to understand how powerful and meaningful this is. I was on a plane going to Kuwait, and I sat next to a very famous Kuwaiti, Muhammad al-Awadi, and very brilliant man. The stewardess came, and I knew she was from West Africa because I spent time in West Africa. People from West Africa are always surprised because I say, you're Yoruba? They say, how'd you know? Because people don't know that in this country. I was in a taxi, and I heard a man start talking, and I said, oh, you're from West Africa. He was really surprised. He said, you're the first white American that ever knew where I was from. But I said to her, where are you from? She said, Senegal. And her name was Aisha. She's a stewardess on an airline that served alcohol. Muhammad al-Awadi asked her a question. He said, how do you feel about serving wine? She said, it troubles me. She didn't have a hijab, so there was no outward display of her religion. She said, it really troubles me. And he said, but I always serve it with my left hand. See, people laugh. They think that was funny. I actually cried. Because what she was telling me then was she was connected to her religion. Because Muslims do foul things with that. They clean filth with their left hand. And that's what she was articulating by that. She said, I always serve it with my left hand. That's a level of consciousness. That's a conscious connection with your Lord, despite the fact that she knew that it was prohibited. And then she said, and I always ask the non-Muslim stewardesses in Ramadan to serve it for me. This is what people are going through out there. And there's people that could look at her and look down on her. That woman, I wanted to ask her to make dua for me. That's what people are out there struggling with, holding their religion together. That is the meaning of the hadith. Towards the end of time, to hang on to this religion is like hanging on to a hot coal. Like a hot coal in your hands. That's what that woman was articulating. Our Prophet ﷺ saw that coming, but she was connected to her Lord. She hadn't severed that tie with her Lord. And as long as that tie, however flimsy, if it's sha'ratu Muawiyah, the hair of Muawiyah, however flimsy that tie is, if that tie is there with your Lord, that door is always open.